Hey team, welcome back to another great episode of the Intentional Agribusiness Leader Podcast. This is your host Mark Jewell, and today we've got another really good one. We've got one of our first repeat guests, who was one of our original guests on the show back in the day, back when we first launched this thing in the beginning of 2024. And Mark Waschek with Ag One Source is back with us. Mark, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, Mark. I loved it then. I'm sure I'm going to love it this time too.
Yeah. Well, we've done a lot of good. We've had a lot of downloads. That was like 20,000 downloads ago. So we're
That's crazy. It's amazing.
yeah, it is crazy, and I'm always amazed when I go look at the numbers and see what people are interested in, and it's these interviews, these conversations with people like you. So thanks for doing it, and thanks for coming back.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
For people's memory, or maybe for new listeners, maybe give a little bit of background on yourself.
Great. Yep. Grew up in Minnesota, went to the University of Minnesota, did a tour of duty in retail ag as a agronomist and location manager, and eventually up into the corporate world of Cenex Land O'Lakes, AgReliance, and Cenex Harvest States. Joined the Ag One Source organization about 20 years ago. Started as a recruiter in the upper Midwest, working primarily with ag retailers and seed companies. Over the past 20 years, organization has grown. My role has evolved to where I'm now leading the Ag One Source brand and president of the board for Integra Partners, which is our parent company that owns both Ag One Source, our ag recruiting firm, and Career One Source, our non-ag recruiting firm.
Got it. Very cool. I was going to ask, what was the difference between Ag One Source and Career One Source, and that's it. Just a different, different niche, right?
Exactly.
Good. Very cool, man. Well, glad to have you back on. I want to just dive right in and get a take on the state of the ag market from an employment standpoint. These days, what are you seeing? What trends are you guys paying attention to? Because when we talked 2 years ago, we were in a very different cycle at that point. And we're in this sort of correction market as we speak, and some are thriving, some are surviving, some are not. Some are finding ways to capitalize, and some are going away. So what are you seeing? What observations? What trends?
I would say the couple of things that are really driving the talent market currently are obviously the large organizations. We all see the press releases, whether it's Syngenta or John Deere or whoever, laying off large numbers of employees has affected the talent pool overall. The second thing that has been going on for probably a year to almost a year and a half is the backing off of venture capital and private equity in the ag sector. Very well known thing, and where that affects organizations like us that do executive recruiting and the talent pool overall is that not that our firm or lots of firms are excited to or need to place people with venture capital or private equity firms, but the role they play in the talent pool is actually a constant churning. When those organizations enter the marketplace, they typically, if they're at the second round where they need to start building teams, they want to hire leaders out of other firms to come in and hit the ground running, right? Well, that creates turnover in the other organizations, which creates turnover in the entire market. Without that base of a constant pull of new companies pulling talent out of different companies, there's a whole lot less churning. So that's why people are saying, wow, it's really slow. There aren't as many openings as there used to be. That's a big part of what's going on there.
Got it.
Sure.
So it's that the reduction of the influx of private equity money into some of these startups and high growth firms not sucking up or not recruiting as much of that talent away.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of slowed down the churn.
Exactly. Definitely. And then like I said, on the other side of it, with the large firms that have been laying employees off piled on top of that, right? It is a very sluggish market. But it's an opportunity, right? Organizations that are hiring will have access to talent that they wouldn't have normally had if they hadn't been laid off. So you can create wins depending on how you look at it.
Well, it feels like my LinkedIn news feed I'm still seeing people every day in a new role.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I haven't seen too much, and maybe it's just that's what I'm paying attention to. That's what I see a lot of. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
maybe one thing I have noticed is the open to work badge is up a little bit
Sure.
longer for
You're
some.
right. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah. Um, all right. I want to just for fun. I want to compare this because I've been sharing this story with a couple of people recently because I just remembered it. So I graduated university in 2004. Came out of the same place you did, University of
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota, ag ed degree. A little bit different pedigree. I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
all the great internships. I didn't have the Golden Harvest internship, which was so highly coveted back in the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jim Emanuel never brought me on, but did a lot of people, right?
Yep.
So but there was that, and then, like a lot of other companies, right? Or maybe you interned with a co-op or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I had a family business to go back and help out every summer, so I never had
Yep.
that on my resume coming out. But I remember I moved to Carroll, Iowa in 2008. Okay. And was attempting to start my first business at that point. It was going slowly. I started looking for a job to supplement my income, and I actually applied to what was West Central Co-op.
Mm-hmm.
I went on the website, submitted my application, right? 4-year degree, ag education, willing to work, willing to learn, do whatever you need me to do, right? Kind of thing. And I never got a call,
Yep.
right? Like nobody called me back.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, fast forward to today. I mean, I feel like if somebody who's willing to show up, that's got a good pulse, that's willing to work hard,
Mm-hmm.
at least you're going to get a call back. Like, comparing, like, what is so different from back then? Like, and that's back in the days when you and I first met,
Sure.
to today. What is so dramatically different? Like, I mean, there's still, even though, we have maybe the current cycle we're going through, but man, like, it just seems like, today somebody's going to get a call. People are hungry for talent, right?
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
even if it doesn't, maybe even if they don't have an opening, I still see companies picking up talent, especially at the co-op level, because they have somebody who wants to be there.
Right. And there's a few things that are affecting that shift. Obviously, there are a lot less employable worker or people that want to be working today,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
20 years ago, retiring in your 50s was crazy,
Mm,
right? Now you almost feel guilty if you work past 62 or even 60 in some cases, right?
sure.
So
Yeah.
that's especially in the ag economy, in the ag world where it's high stress roles, especially at leadership opportunities. A lot of those leaders are pulling the pin earlier and moving to a tax-free state and enjoying life, right? So
Yep. Yep.
that's part of it. The other part of it is through organizations like yours and others, the training and development component has significantly enhanced and improved in these organizations over the
Mm,
last 20 years as well, whereas they did not have the capability to train somebody that couldn't do most of the job on day one
sure.
themselves, right? So
Yep. Yep.
that's why if you didn't have an agronomy internship where you didn't at least know how to scout fields and identify weeds, they weren't prepared to take you on, or they would hold out for somebody who come along and did. So I think
Mhm.
that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So there's almost, I mean, do you think the training has mostly evolved out of just the necessity because we have fewer? Is that the big driver?
Definitely that, and the resource. I mean, technology. Whether it's AI or
Sure.
apps on your phone, you take a picture of a weed, it identifies it for you. All of those types of
Yeah.
things have allowed them to lower the bar of entrance because you don't have to be an expert. They have the resources available to at least give you the tools to be effective with a grower in some cases, in most cases.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's a big part of it too. It's enabled it.
Hmm. Yeah. Intentional leadership more important than ever, or is it fading?
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's more important by far. I mentioned earlier how organizations have the opportunity to have access to talent they normally wouldn't because of some
Hmm.
of the shifts going on in the economy. That's a great opportunity, but it's also incredibly dangerous for both the candidate and the company, meaning
Hmm.
that we have companies that are so excited about an individual's resume, it is so easy to overlook if they actually fit within the culture of your organization and I'm going to say the behavioral style to actually do what needs to be done, right?
Yep.
Just
Hmm.
because somebody had a title that fits with the title that you want to fill doesn't mean how they do it or the way that they do things with others is actually going to fit in your organization. And so
Hmm.
when it comes to intentional leadership, if you bring them on to fit into that cultural component of your team, you have to follow through on your side too. You can't just, well, we got one that fits and walk away,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because talent is so short. Great companies are always looking for people. More than ever before, we now have companies that are willing to hire people without an opening because they know that person is going to be so valuable to their organization down the road.
Mhm.
The only way you're going to keep those employees engaged is by being intentional with your team. Otherwise, if you just hire them and walk away, it's never going to happen. It's never
Yeah.
going to stick.
Yeah, yeah. A few episodes ago, I dropped after 150 episodes what's become my definition of intentional
Mm-hmm.
in this intentional leadership. And there's 3 Ds. I'm not going to go through the whole definition now. People can go back and listen to that episode. But the first D of the 3 Ds in my definition is deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people often take for granted what it means to be deliberate. Right? Deliberate means I meant to.
Mm-hmm.
It means
Mm-hmm.
you mean to. It means you
Right.
make the time, and that's been and with amongst a lot of our clients where I've seen the struggles happen is the lack of deliberateness, right? That lack of intentionality. I mean, I've seen one company this year, and all of the companies that we've looked at and proposed work to actually had sort of a training plan,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like a real
Right.
genuine, like, hey, here's what we know we need to train on, and they brought that to us so that we could enhance it. That's the only time. Every other time, we're making it up for them because they didn't have it in place. They had
Exactly.
no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I mean, how many leaders do you talk to who say, Mark, people is our number one focus. They're our most important asset. And then you say, great, let's schedule a time to talk. Well, I'm pretty busy. Do you
yeah,
have time 2 months from now? We can visit then. It's like, so are they really your most important asset, or what's the deal
right.
here,
Oh
right?
man, yeah. It's show me your calendar and I show you your priorities.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I think I have one lately. I mean, we've been rescheduled now. I mean, we've written the proposal, we've done the discovery, like we're invested in this. And normally I would just walk away from it and say, hey, if you don't have
Right.
time, if you're going to reschedule me that much, I have other people I
Mm-hmm.
can go talk to. I think we're on the 5th reschedule since we
Okay.
wrote the proposal.
Exactly.
And it's granted, as we write this, it's spring, it's interns, it's all the spring stuff that
Mm-hmm.
goes on, and I don't think there's any malicious intent. I understand the
Sure.
heart of the person, I see where they're at, but it's like, man, like, I also heard the pain that was in their voice when we were doing discovery.
Right.
It's like,
Exactly.
I mean, you delay this 2 months, well, that means like now you're not getting on my schedule for another 8.
Exactly. And I
You
think
know?
you've addressed the other challenge with the agricultural industry as a whole. We
Mm-hmm.
like to solve problems with assets,
Yeah,
but people is a little too squishy, right?
yeah,
It's well, and if you go back to your comment earlier, show me your calendar. Well, their calendar is filled up with things that have a cost and a revenue stream and an ROI. Unknowns like talent management and training and those types of things are tough, so that they would rather solve the problems where they can actually spend $1 and know they're going to get $1.50 than invest in something that's going to take 12 to 18 months to get that return out of,
right.
right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, I would like to see the numbers. I'd like to do the research on the ag space and see what kind of ROI you can get. But if you go to the American Training and Development website, I mean, they have the research that just generally speaking, even investments just in executive coaching
Right.
have at least a 4x ROI. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
every dollar in executive coaching has got 4 coming back into the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't know that many pieces of metal that can do that.
No, I'm with you. I just did a LinkedIn post about it the other day on that very same thing. It's right. If you look at the top professionals that are at the top of their game in any sport, every one of them has a coach. There's a reason
Absolutely.
for that, right? It's not
Absolutely.
like they hit a level and master it and say, I don't need any help now, right? Every top golfer has a swing coach, right? Every top batter has a batting coach.
Mm-hmm.
Leaders are no different. There's always somebody on the outside that can see what you're ignoring or not seeing because you're too busy to notice.
Yeah, 100%. It's from a when like we officially started our executive coaching division last year,
Mm-hmm.
and what continues to happen is we see like the value. What they're looking for is the perspective shift,
Mm-hmm.
right? They can't see what they can't see. So they don't even know to ask for it.
Right.
And so we're finding a lot of just lonely leaders who are in that role, stuck, feel like they're on an island. Nobody can
Right.
stir it up worse than they are. Yet if you go to the next co-op down the road, or if you go to the next
Exactly.
company down the road, the next manufacturer, like that guy's just as lonely as you are.
Exactly.
You have
Yep.
no idea. You're living the exact same experience, but you don't think about it because you're competing with each other.
Exactly. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, we see that a lot in our Ag Leader Summit program too. It's just like guys, some of these guys have been in this for 9 years
hmm
because it's just like it's the place they can go to connect with other people that are going through the same thing.
It's a peer network. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Well, let's. What are you seeing in terms of like? I mean, how is AI infiltrating the market so far? I think we're at the very cusp of this, and ag historically has been very slow to adopt
hmm
the new technologies. Twitter came
Right.
out in 2008, and then it got really popular in ag like in 2010, 2011. I think when
hmm
ag Twitter first really kind of took off.
Yep.
Um, and that would be an example. We're always just a little bit behind. But I don't know if we're going to be able to hide from this one
Right.
for long.
Definitely.
What are you? That's my opinion, but what are you seeing?
At a high level, I would say that it's definitely a friend, not an enemy,
Yeah.
right? For lots of reasons, right?
Mhm.
But it comes down to, I think within agriculture and even within organizations, you have to embrace the opportunity to actually make your business better, as opposed to, think back, when was it, the early 80s when Microsoft created Excel? There are
Yeah.
probably thousands of accountants that lost their job because Excel was invented. But accountants didn't go away. The
Right.
only ones that went away were the ones that refused to embrace Excel and make their lives better and be more effective for their clients,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and AI is the same effect on any business, whether it's agricultural or not.
Hmm.
It's realizing that there are tools within the AI realm that can really do things that you don't want to do, or do things that you really aren't good at and shouldn't be doing in the first place. So you can use those tools to help yourself as an individual or the organization focus on what creates the most return on investment, while taking care of those things that have very little return on investment or actually hurt everybody's attitude because they're no fun to do,
Yeah.
right? I think
Yep.
that's, at a high level, that's how I see it. Whether it's agronomy, grain, anything, there's always ways to make your life better or the lives of your employees better by taking away the stuff they shouldn't be doing. And AI is a way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it was. Oh, I forget the author, but the book was called "The Future Is Faster Than You Think," and this came
Mm-hmm.
out. Let's call it 4 years ago or 5 years ago.
Okay.
Peter Diamandis, I believe, is one of the authors, and Stephen Kotler. I think those are the
Mm.
two. They're co-authors. And the statistics then were that for every job the internet, not AI, but that the internet had eliminated, it created 2.6 more.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Right.
so, that before AI, the big scary monster was like the internet. The technology is taking jobs and eliminating jobs. But for every one that got eliminated due to technology, another 2.6 got created. So I would encourage people, I guess, just to be really like optimistic and open minded. Like, what opportunities is this creating for you?
Exactly.
You
Yep.
know, and I think it's going to create great opportunities. I mean, you can create apps in a day now.
Mm-hmm.
Where,
Right.
you know,
Exactly.
and have them hosted, fully supported live by the end of the day if you have an idea, and they can be hyper personalized right down to the customer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and you can charge for that. So though there's a value add, like
Exactly.
I mean, there's
Definitely.
one idea. Somebody can go take that and run and figure that out. And the number of companies that you can do that with is innumerable. I mean, it's just like every day there's a new one hitting my Instagram feed, another ad for another company where you can build things on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not just ChatGPT.
Right. It's amazing.
Yep.
Even we've been playing with it even from a business development standpoint and different things. It's
Mhm.
like, who are the 10 largest customers in this segment in this state? And boom, it tells you, right?
Yeah.
I would be clicking for days on Google to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
But it's a simple thing and it saved me a ton of time. And did it give me the solution? No, but it's like it saved me time. It made my life better that day because now I can build a plan. So there's all
Well,
kinds of stuff.
there's so many, there's practical applications and then there's visionary applications. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to, when I'd get done with a discovery meeting and I still use a paper notebook, right? I'm sitting here taking notes as you're talking,
Exactly.
and because I like that, obviously, but I
Mm-hmm.
can also, like, this is recorded, so I can take this recording and plug all this into a transcription, transcriptor, or just even out of Riverside, we'll get a transcription off of this
Exactly.
call. I can
Yep.
plug that into ChatGPT, and it can write the emails that go out that that sends it out to our audience and posts on LinkedIn, and I think we can do all that. My
Mm-hmm.
sales calls, like my discovery time, right? We have a good 1 hour discovery. We record the conversation, we take the transcript, and then I've taught the GPT to just write. Here's my proposal format. And what used to take me
Mm-hmm.
2 hours to write a proposal off of my handwritten notes, I now
Right.
get a more detailed, more accurate, better written proposal in 5 minutes.
That same that same approach, I do exactly the same thing. Actually applies, getting back to the intentional leadership, being more effective as a supervisor.
Yep.
You I use Fireflies. There's lots of apps out there, but
Mm-hmm.
you can record your one-on-one conversations with your employee. You can be 100%
Exactly.
focused. I'm like you. I love to take notes,
Yep.
and I don't want to miss anything. Everything's captured, and the notes and the summary that I'm getting from my AI app, who is listening in on our conversation, is better than I would have done, and I
Yep.
can send it back to that employee immediately if there's a checklist of things we're going to work on or
Right.
whatever it may be.
Yep.
It can make you a better manager, no
It,
doubt.
yeah, it really can. And the piece that I want to that I still hopefully that saves you time, right? And maybe you weren't doing that originally, and that just makes you more intentional.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were the leader who's actually sitting down to take the time to do the follow up after a one-on-one conversation, and then send an email or send a voice
Mm-hmm.
note, I mean, just take that time to, like, spend an extra 15 minutes and connect with the person. And
Mm-hmm.
how's the family? How's the kids? Like, well, how are you? And
Exactly.
my prayer would be that we would be more personal, with,
Right.
and that's
Exactly.
what I've seen from so many people lately is the schedules are so full, and there's so much disruption in the day and so much distraction.
Mm-hmm.
They're missing out on the opportunity to
Exactly.
truly be intentional, and I think companies lose people because of that, unfortunately.
Well, especially now, we mentioned earlier how my business and your business shifted during COVID.
Yeah.
Um, and now remote teams are even far more prevalent than they were before. Being intentional and getting to know your employees is a lot harder and a lot more focused than it had to be before, because it's not like you bump into them at the water cooler anymore, right? You actually have to make an effort to engage with your employees, otherwise it's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. 100%. I want to pivot just a little bit and talk about the next generation coming up. One of the frustrations I've been hearing from a lot of the leaders in our leadership programs is, I guess, struggles with loyalty. And I
Mm,
feel like this has been an ongoing conversation even since my generation was the young generation in the
right.
workplace. I'm sort of young Gen X, old millennial. That's
Sure.
where I fall
Yep.
in. I can pick a team based
Yep.
on how I feel today.
Yep.
Uh, I definitely feel more Gen X than millennials these days, based on what I see in the media. But
I'm with you.
after having gone through COVID and lost the
Mm-hmm.
business and had to build everything back up from the ground up, those kind of things. Like, I definitely know
Mm-hmm.
which generation I fit
Yep.
into now. But it seems like we always have this conversation about every generation. And what I'm now seeing is, like, quite literally, the 20 somethings often are leaving very unexpectedly. Um, and it's sort of in a mystifying manner.
Right.
And yeah, in exit interviews, what we're hearing is, like, our generation's just not as loyal, and they're saying it to the face of the employer, of now the former employer, in an exit interview, that, hey, we're just not, we'll leave for that extra 10 grand. We'll leave,
Right.
for more freedom. Are you seeing that from a recruiting, perspective in conversations with your customers?
Uh, I am. But it's there's no consistency in it, right? And I think
Yeah.
part of it is, one advantage that agriculture has is we still have a large portion of people in ag because they're passionate about ag. So
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, there's lots of that going on in agriculture, but it's a little different than if you were going into like hotel restaurant management or something like that, where
Right.
that's totally different, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's part of it. But I think you're right, and it's part of it's also because now that even us as Gen Xers are leading organizations and businesses, we're now realizing that, it used to be the boomers versus millennials. Well, guess what? That's us now. It's the Gen Xers and the Gen Zs that are now in that same boat complaining
Yeah.
about that generation. And the reality is we're complaining about them, yet we're the ones that raised them, right? They grew up in our own basements, and now we're saying, well, we don't understand them. We can't communicate with them. Well, we raised them, right? We got what we got. And I think that part of that, every generation has that situation, and it's really hard for leaders to connect with that generation because it's different than their own.
Yeah.
And with a lot of the loyalty issues, I will tell you, it the reports are correct. This generation is very much wants to be part of something. They want to feel like there's a purpose to what they're doing and the
Mhm.
organization they work for. But the other thing that I will tell you, just having conversations with it, is um, organizations as a whole are still not quite doing a great job of mastering the concept of showing people what path they're on,
Mm.
right? It's here's your job, we'll train you. If you do a good job for the next 12 to 18 months, we'll give you a promotion, but it's not a visual feeling kind of thing. And so
Mhm.
10 months into it, the employee might feel like they've mastered it and they're ready to move on, or they're actually bored because they have mastered it,
Yeah.
and the document in their file in HR says see them in month 17 about potential promotion. They aren't going to wait around for that. If there's other
Mhm.
companies out there that have jobs posted that can end that boredom, right? It's
Yeah.
all about,
Yeah.
it's that ongoing communication and connection to the employees to show them they're on a path. Because I will tell you, as a recruiter, it is almost impossible to recruit an employee that is 18 months into a 36-month plan. If they're
Yeah.
saying, wait a minute, I've invested 18 months, I'm not going to, I'll talk to me in 36 months, but I want to see this through.
Mhm.
I'm part of something. I've got 2 more steps that I want to show that I can do. Then we
Beautiful.
can talk, right? But if there isn't that whole long-term plan, it's really easy to become disengaged as an employee, and it's really easy for a recruiter to pick somebody off because they're going to sit. You can show them, hey, you're going to have more fun over here. Aren't you bored in your current role today? What's the
Mm.
purpose?
Mm-hmm. Man, incredibly well stated. That's something that we're working on at the Momentum Company right now is helping companies write those hyper personalized development plans for each individual.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, I mean, I know that most of the employers just don't have time. I mean, even
Right.
a small company of 100, 150, 200 people, like it's just like generally companies don't have the resources to do that. And so we started offering that as a service so that so we can take the guesswork out of it. Because I think that's
Right.
the challenge that most leaders have is like, okay, well, that sounds good, Mark. How do I do it?
Right.
You know?
We we worked with a very large cooperative in the southern U.S. that um, their turnover rate was in the single digits, right? Which is not normal for an ag retail cooperative, right? Usually
Yeah.
it's 20%.
Okay.
These guys are like 6.
Wow.
They're When you ask an organization what's your onboarding program, companies will usually say anywhere from 1 week to maybe 2 months max, right?
Mm-hmm.
Theirs
Yep.
was 5 years.
Wow.
Their employees did monthly training sessions, and it had branches. So if you, whether you were sales or operations or whatever you wanted to do throughout that 5 years, you were on a 5-year plan to where at the end
Wow.
of it, you became a location manager,
Yep.
right? Or something
Yep.
like the ultimate goal, or a head of sales, whatever it was. But I mean, there's something to be said for that. I mean, that's a case study right there. A 5-year business plan lowered their turnover because their employees are actually part of a much longer plan than any of their competitors were.
Yep. Yeah, what I've been hearing from a lot in discovery calls lately is it's like very flat organizations, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a 150 person or less co-op, like there's just where else are you going to go, right? I mean, you're
Right.
and the person who's in the regional manager role or the VP of agronomy role right now is 43.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are that job's not opening up for a while unless they go somewhere else, right?
Sure. Yep.
And so, that's what you're talking about right there. That's can be a huge part of the solution is just give them something to do, something to look forward to. Here's another, maybe it's not a promotion, right? It's not a job title, but it is how you're getting better. And man, if nothing else, like may this be the best place that you could possibly work for the next 5 years,
Right.
you
Be
know?
part of it. Make it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Good stuff, man. I love it. What else? Anything before I know we got to bring this in for a landing here, as I've got to get to another call, but anything else that you'd share that you're seeing in the market right now that people should be aware of?
No, I just would reiterate what I said earlier is that now is not the time to get excited and focus in on skills and experience when you're interviewing candidates. Now is the time to really make sure that they fit the culture of your organization and their style, their behavioral style, the way that they're wired actually fits in the role. And what I'm talking about there, Mark, is there's no two jobs alike in any company. You can have 10 salespeople, and I can show you that a different style of person is going to excel in every territory. Whether you can have a territory that's brand new with 0% market share and a territory that has your top customers in it. How an employee is going to excel in those two territories is a very different approach, right? One is going to be very customer focused and try and grow those customers. One is going to be literally knocking on doors all day, very driven. The
Mm-hmm.
job description is probably exactly the same. The
Yep.
goals may even be exactly the same, but how they're going to excel in those roles are very different. And I just want to encourage companies that as these organizations are downsizing and there's a lot of really good talent out there, just pump the brakes and make sure that even though they were a great person in that other organization, that they're
Mm-hmm.
really going to fit your company and the style they need to be to do the role you have.
Yeah.
That's where I'm seeing a lot of secondary turnover already happening where people were let go last year in a lot of the crop protection and fertilizer industry roles that were restructured. They are now open to open to a job on LinkedIn again already because there was definitely a mismatch there
Yep.
for sure.
Yeah, man. In our coaching programs, I will back that up. I hear the same thing. If people are leaving, and they've been one of our coaching clients, and now I've seen them gone from another company to a different company, and then all of a sudden they're
Hmm.
back on the market right away. I'm like, hey,
Right.
what happened? They're like, just culturally, just it wasn't a match.
Exactly.
Yeah, it
Yep.
happened too quick. So good,
Hmm.
man. Thanks for being on the show again. So good to see you. Good to reconnect. And
Definitely.
good
Yep.
luck with everything.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Mark. I appreciate it.